My father died when I was 5 months old. Mom, Nina, and I moved to Barnesville to live with my grandma Byers at 311 South Gardner Street. Nina and I had been born in this house. This was home to me until I was married to Maxine in 1955. This house was also home to 8 relatives until the Depression of the 30s. During the Depression, the number varied, and I remember at various times 15 relatives called this address home. So it was a 2-story, 1,700 square foot house. It had 3 bedrooms, a basement, a front porch, and a back porch with a swing. There were a total of 8 double beds throughout the house. Can you imagine the laundry?
Oh my.
We did not have a bathroom by today's standards, but we had a toilet in the basement that we flushed by pouring water into it. There was also a drain in one corner of the basement that men could use as a urinal. We also had a 2-hole outhouse in the backyard. Bathing in a sponge manner was done in addition over the kitchen. Hot water was obtained from a tub heated over a gas flame. Also in this addition, we had a porcelain pot for nighttime toilet activities. You can imagine that. Money was scarce, but I never went hungry. With that many people around, I was never lonely either. When I was about 6 years old, I disobeyed my grandmother. For punishment, she put me in a chair and tied me in the chair with a rope. I sat there for some time, I don't remember how long. This did not seem like a big deal to me. But a childhood friend of mine saw the incident, and it was awful. I thought it was awful. 70-some years later, he told me how bad he thought this appeared to him. Earlier I mentioned the outhouse. Well, this had to be cleaned out periodically. A man who was called the Honey Dipper came with his horse and wagon and put the waste into wood barrels on his wagon. I never did learn what he did with the waste. I think he was a farmer, so maybe he used as fertilizer. Barnesville during my youth had several cigar factories. My mother worked as a roller. She put the outer wrapper tobacco on the cigars. For a while, she had her own cigar factory in our backyard. One of her brands was called King Crow. The factory was in a building we called the shop, measuring just 15 by 25 feet. I enjoyed the shop for many reasons, but my main interest was 2 large toolboxes, which were full of carpenter tools. They had belonged to my mom's oldest brother, Orion. He had been a bridge carpenter on the B&O Railroad. This is no doubt why I was very active in working for many years. When I was 8 years old, my mother had a surprise party for me. I was always interested in sports, so to complete the surprise, I was to be taken to a baseball game. Well, I got in the machine. That is what they called cars in those days. And we drove around for a while, but then we went back home instead of going to the ball game. This fact upset me to the point that I wanted no part of the party. I remember sitting in the swing and back porch pouting. Eventually I did join the party. To this day I have a handwritten invitation by my mother to John Greer, son of my first cousin Jenny. He was 1 year old at the time. Grandma's home was always a beehive activity. Her husband died in 1916. They had 15 children. Nine lived to adulthood. Until Grandma died in 1950, I cannot remember the house being empty. There was always someone at home. This house had running water, sewer, electricity, and gas. At the time of construction, they built gas lines in the walls and ceilings with outlets for gas lights. During my youth, the gas lights were used only a few times, and that was when storms caused a powder outage. When I was almost 90 years old, I had occasion to go through the old house. That's when we were down there, which had been, went through the old house, which had been abandoned for a few years. I was amazed at how small it was as compared to my memories of years gone by.
Me too.
About 1 year after this visit, the house was demolished. When I was a teenager, I had planted a maple tree in the backyard and is still standing in the vacant lot. Also visible is the brick sidewalk in front of the house. The house was located in an industrial area. This can be noted by the fact that just across the street was a 3-story brick building about the size of a half-city block. It was built as a shoe factory, but in my youth it was used as a box factory to make cigar boxes. Just behind the box factory was a stockyard where farmers brought their stock for auction every Saturday. Within three city blocks, there were 17 gasoline storage tanks. All but 2 were above ground. These tanks were always a concern for fear of explosion if a fire developed in the neighborhood. One night, the largest cigar factory in town burned down. It was next to one of the largest storage tanks. Thankfully, due to the wind direction and expert help from several nearby fire departments, the tanks survived. My family had been so concerned with the potential danger that we grabbed up all the valuables we could carry and went to stay with relatives in a safe part of town. I was real proud. I enjoyed making that story.
I'll bet.
I didn't make it up.
Yeah, that was true.
It's true.
He was glad he said.
So those 15 people, Jim's mother and dad and Jim were part of that.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed in that house many, many times.
Yeah. I remember the railroad right next door to it.
I sent several pictures with this article, and they only put 2 in.